Hey y'all, it's Renegade, and it's time again to spill more realities. We get into all of the looks, laughs, and legendary moments of episode 5 of Canada's Drag Race, Canada versus the World Season 2, Snatch Game, the Rusical. And without further ado, my co-caster, if his life story was a Rusical, it would also be called Requiem for a Bottom. It's QuackrrJack. Jack, as quick as the season has premiered, it's already ending. How are you feeling tonight, and what are your overall thoughts on our season overall here as we get into the penultimate episode of the season?
Well, the first thought was, shit, I forgot that it was called Requiem and I didn't know what the word meant. So I was like, but my thoughts are that this is a really good season. I think this might be my favorite season of 2024 at least. There are so many good things to say. There are a few times where I was like, oh, I wish this had happened this way or this had changed, but I honestly can justify like every single action that's been made so far. The judging has seemed pretty correct for the most part. Like the performances have all been good from like every queen. We've seen like a lot of growth with a lot of the queens, or at least most of them. And we've seen like a much, I think, better cast than we were all expecting from the beginning, right?
I don't know. I kind of thought this was going to be a heavy-hitting cast right from the start, but I think even the people that maybe we weren't expecting to do super well are all picking up the slack here. I think everybody kind of came here in the season with a little bit of something to prove. So yeah, I think this is definitely turning out to be one of the top tier seasons for me. I really enjoyed season 16, so I'm having a hard time just kind of figuring out where I would place both of those two seasons, but definitely between all the seasons we've watched this season or this year, for sure, this could definitely be up there. We'll see if it sticks to landing though. But as much as it was kind of a short ride, it has been a lot of fun, and we kind of get into I think a much awaited episode this season. Because for me, when I heard the challenge list here, this was one of the ones where I was kind of like, how the fuck they gonna do that? And it is Snatch Game the Rusical, where it turns out the queens will be challenged to sing and dance while also giving celebrity impersonations on the main stage. And this season has been taking a lot of swings when it comes to the challenges here, and I gotta say, this idea was also a lot of fun. And at least on paper, I wasn't sure initially how well it was going to end out working here, and I think that's because the Rusical moments were amazing since they were able to kind of like script them versus the Snatch Game moments since they were unscripted and you can't really, script, I think, Snatch Game answers like that. I think that part turned out to be a little cringe for me, but I think maybe it worked just for how they had everything set up for like the story for the musical, even if I don't think it was supposed to all be terrible answers. But Jack, did you have any overall thoughts on the Rusical concept and how they kind of executed it?
I actually loved this idea of combining the Snatch Game and the musical. Yes, it was kind of I will say it's a little detrimental to a few of the people who chose certain characters, but I also think that's kind of the risk of like if you're going to do a Snatch Game, you have to be extremely witty, and this kind of like upped the ante on like how witty you could be. First of all, there's only 5 people, so you have a lot less time to come up with your answers. There's less bantering you can have. So you really are relying on your ability to act out as the musical is going on as well. So it's like another layer of complexity, which is kind of nice because I kind of get bored of Snatch Game nowadays, where people clearly seem a little favored, and here it feels like you are kind of forced into a situation where the camera's always on you. Like you're always being seen because there are so few people on the stage. So I kind of love this.
Yeah, you're right. There really is nowhere to hide in this group performance, and I think that's kind of what made it so good. But again, there's some questionable choices here in there that I mean, I probably wouldn't have made them. Did it detract from the viewing performance? Not really. I would still think this is probably just a high ranking musical just based on the fact that we had some really quality performances here. So yeah, I thought this was pretty good. Before we get to some specifics about the musical, though, we did have a little bit of workroom drama here to get into as Cheryl has decided this is her wedding day. Today is the day that she is winning her challenge. And she's kind of going on a Bridezilla moment here where she wants to get, everything her way. As we know, kind of for this musical, there are five songs that they could choose from. Four of them are sort of up-tempo songs here, while one is a ballad that closes the show, and that's what Cheryl has decided that she wants. She wants that closing ballad because it's so different from everything else, and she thinks she could stand out doing it. And Kennedy speaks up here since she's upset because they haven't even finished listening to all the songs before Cheryl has made the decision that this is what she wants. And because of all this, Kennedy kind of gets into like a really like negative place. Um, Not sure why she didn't fight for the last part if she really wanted it. Instead, she just ends up taking the flop tango since it was sort of the leftover role that nobody wanted. And you can again kind of tell this kind of puts at least these two in a very strange place going into this musical because now Cheryl feels like she needs to prove herself because she just fought here, while Kennedy again she's just in a negative place kind of just to start, which I think was probably not a good place for Kennedy to get to before the challenge started specifically because she's been so positive all season. I think that's really helping her. I don't think that helped her going back to this negative place before this challenge here. Do you think the little spat between these two ultimately affected either of their performances heading into this?
Yeah, I think it definitely affected Kennedy, and we saw that like regression back into that like, well, I'm not happy about it, so I'm gonna keep thinking about it. And I get it. Like I 100% get it. Like I'm a diva. I love getting my way. Like who doesn't love getting their way, right? Like it is what it is. But at the same time, like let's talk about the parts. None of them are bad, right? And actually, the tango is really like amazing, and the fact that it's like a Chicago moment kind of thing is like very iconic. Um it's a very well executed moment. So I'm not really sure why she's too concerned about what song she has because as we saw in the musical, it didn't seem like the song really changed much except for the fact that the ballad maybe didn't have as much dancing in it. And Kennedy is a dancer, so why would she want a part that doesn't have much dancing in it? It doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, I was kind of finding it strange too that she was that upset about it, especially because it felt like the part she got really fit her. She turned it out, and I'm pretty sure she could have turned out any of these performances here. I don't think any of these were really staged in a way that it seemed like they had like specific choreo. It felt like a lot of the choreo was kind of matched to meet up with like the queen and their performances and their performance level, their skill, as well as the character that they decided to choose. For the most part, I would say so. Yeah, I do think that probably getting into this negative place was not a great start here for Kennedy, and it definitely, unfortunately, would kind of set off a string of events here that you're right, she kind of just regressed back to her old ways, unfortunately. But we'll see if she could kind of snap out of it. Maybe it's just an off week here for her. But I mean, there's really not much else to talk about here. I feel like this is going to be a very, very short podcast episode because we're less than 10 minutes in, and we're already kind of ready to talk about. I think the musical performances, right? Like, I don't think there's anything else to kind of get into before that, unless you had something else you wanted to talk to
No,
about,
we can
Jack.
definitely talk about the characters and the musical like at the same time. There's like there's nothing we really have to like separate. Although I will say, if someone's ready for their part earlier than you are, like it might just be a reading or a listening thing. Like, if I hear a song and I don't like it, I'm not vibing with it, I'll skip it too. So
Yeah, I'm
I'm
usually like
universal
that on my
pattern.
first listen of like an album too. Like if I don't like get into it right away, I'll skip it and come back to it on my next listen within like the first 5 seconds. So maybe Cheryl's just a speed,
Ooh.
maybe she's a speeder like that. She
I
hears it
mean, I don't
immediately,
do that
turns it
with my
off.
first listen of an album though, but like I think with this, since you're picking your role, like, girl, I don't really need to know your song that well.
I
Like,
get
I'm
that.
not playing
I
that
get that.
role. And at the end of this, like, if we decide, oh, everyone else has a role, and the only one left is this one that I said I didn't want, then I'm not doing it. Like, we can sit here all day and not get to practice, bitch. I'm not doing what I'm not doing. Like, that's my attitude. Like, I will pull the diva card so fast because, girl, this is for the crown. So you got
hmm
me fucked up,
And for
personally.
Cheryl, she's trying to get her first win. So I mean, I get it. I get it. I don't blame her for doing it. And I mean, plenty of girls have put their foot down and have been like, "I'm getting this. I'm doing this. It is what it is." deal with it.
Almost always works out.
It's kind of, yeah, it does work out in their favor because they're the ones that are confident wanting to do it, and then the other person always will get into their head. And I mean, classic situation repeats itself here. So, yeah, let's go ahead and we can get into the Rusical performances then. We could also talk about the runway category this week, which was Summer of '69, which was a really fun concept because I felt like there's just so many different ways they could have gone with it. A lot of them kind of I feel went in the same direction for the most part, but I think we did have some really good standouts here. But let's start off with the order that they performed in the Snatch game with their solo performances here, and we'll start off with Alexis Mateo. She had the first number here, which was "Snatch Game Could Change My Life," and she chose to be Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, but decided to play this person as a baby. Um, this is her first musical, but she usually does really well in snatch games, so this felt like this could have been a spot where she could have done really well, and I kind of get why Alexis put a twist on the person. She usually kind of does this, like when she had Alicia Keys, but let me make her pregnant and super ghetto, you know? It's like she always takes a person and then kind of puts them in a very random situation for how she ends up characterizing them, and I don't think that worked out for her here. Um, she said that she wasn't going to be timid, and to quote, because she's going to treat this like a hookup, because they could be gone in the morning. I felt her commitment level to the character. I just don't think the character really worked. Jack, did you have any thoughts here on how it worked out? Because it was very distracting. I feel like that she was just the baby to begin with. I think she could have just been the governor and then maybe just gone like some of the route like some other people like when Marina Summers did Manny Pacquiao and just made him really feminine. She could have done something stupid like that. I don't get why she had to be a baby. Were you vibing with the baby?
Um, I thought the idea of making Ron DeSantis a baby is like funny in theory, and I thought her like first initial answer was really hilarious. I think I don't even know if maybe the baby Ron DeSantis was so much the issue as like maybe this is like the biggest one where the Rusical didn't help her that much because it's hard to basically create your own character and then you know, act like that character and keep in that thing because like what do we know about Ron DeSantis as a baby? Nothing. So it's like funny because she played it very much like this kid that listens to whatever their parents say and just does strictly that, which is kind of like the whole joke about Ron DeSantis she goes on with. And you know, her impersonation started off strong and then it just faded completely because we had other people who were just spot on with their characterization choices, where hers felt like more of the look.
It felt like it started out well, like, but she just had nowhere to go after that first joke. Like
Oh yeah.
it kind of just fell apart after that, and it was just she needed I think you're right. The setup of how this musical worked, I don't think it worked because she wasn't able to really develop her character throughout, and I think you really needed to kind of have somebody that we kind of knew without having to really explain very much because there wasn't a whole lot of real like snatch game moments for them to get the character growth outside of the musical, so they had to really make those moments count, and I don't think it worked out as well as she probably wanted it to. But as far as her look goes tonight, I really liked it. I thought it was very chic. It was very clean. It's not something I'm used to getting from Alexis here that I feel like where she has looks that are um, just very polished, and she's looked so much more polished this season. I feel like than she ever has. This looks like something just straight out of Austin Powers, and it just looks really good. I really like it. She's right. She kind of does look like she could be rich in the '60s. So, um, do you have any thoughts on Alexis's look here?
I love like the bumped hair with the headband. I love the gloves that match the outfit. I love the white and like lining all over everywhere. I like that she made the buttons extremely big to accent them. You know, the collar is perfect. The one big like white flower that's bedazzled, just as like an extra showcase on the opposite side of where she's holding her purse. The white shoe with the continuation of the pattern, but a huge break from the pattern looks really good here to me. I thought
She
this look
looks so
was
good.
phenomenal. There's so many good things I like about this look. I really can't say like more good things about this look. I'm honestly like the more I look at it, the more I love it. The earrings matching the flower, like it's well designed. It's great details. If you're gonna do something as simple like this, details have to be on point. Everything is on point. Can't say enough good things about it. This is what I expect to see. If you're gonna come to Drag Race, please have an outfit that not only matches the category, but also the details are well thought out. And normally I would say something like, "Oh, I don't like the leggings or the pants or whatever because they're too basic." But because there are details everywhere else, this like no need to look there and just immediately like see it and go to the next thing is correct. You know?
Even just like the fact that she has like the white trimming around the coat itself, it just makes everything
Yes.
pop so much. It's so clean looking. It just looks so good. Um, I'm very impressed by this look by Alexis. Let's go ahead and get into our next queen of the night, Miss Lemon, who was performing the best damn snatch game in history. And Lemon's storyline this episode is her feeling kind of like she's back to form, as we've kind of, talked about a lot of the season. Was in a really bad place following UK versus the World One, and being the fact that she's been in the top every single week, she feels like she's back to, perform, and she's really proud of herself again, which is really great to hear. And I'd say, kind of as a result of this, I think she's feeling a need to push herself. So instead of reprising JoJo Siwa from her original Snatch Game performance, and since it's a Rusical, she decides she should play an actual singer. Um, Shade intended there, JoJo. Stop singing, please. She decides to go with Susan Boyle, and I thought this was a brilliant, brilliant performance from her, and just a smart idea to pick someone who is just a out of the box kooky character that everybody already knows. You don't have to really do too much here, I feel like, to explain what she's doing, because we kind of already know who Susan Boyle is. If you don't really know of who she is, you can kind of just look at her in, a Google picture, and you're like, okay, she probably likes Sound of Music and things like that. So, like, I felt like, just as far as the numbers go here, she had the best solo number and by far the best Snatch Game answers, I think, for me, as far as the characterization goes. And again, I was a little questionable about this challenge, but then there's queens like Lemon here that I really shouldn't have questioned that they'd be able to pull it off, because she did so well from start to finish here. Do you have any thoughts here on Miss Lemon's performance?
So Lemon gave us such a fun performance. So first of all, I did say that like all of the numbers were great, and this one is no exception. But this one, she really got to show off a lot of her dancing skills. Just like honestly, all of them, other than Cheryl, which is why I think Cheryl so desperately wanted that. She wanted and strategically took that ballot, and I think that was very smart of her. But Lemon here, she picks such a funny character because let's be 100% real. The moment that Susan Boyle came on stage, everyone described her as the ugly woman with a beautiful voice, right? Like, and that's not me like shading her. That's like literally what was said about her. Because people looked at Susan Boyle and was like, but then when she started singing, they were like, holy shit. And it was kind of the same thing where it's like she's kind of looking like Susan's, back when we first saw her. She's got that beigey tan, like dowdy kind of look to her with the frazzled hair that isn't well kept. And, you know, I knew exactly who she was outside of her, like, telling us. I just kind of knew because I was like, oh, this is kind of an unfortunate look. And she plays it so well. And she says things that are just like so quick-witted and like so funny, and I don't think you would have expected this from like Susan Boyle per se. So it's like you gave more life to Susan Boyle because like I don't really know what I would say Susan Boyle's personality was per se, but like this was the Susan Boyle that I wanted to know. And Lemon was able to show off dancing even if the outfit wasn't very cute during it. Like she showed off her many skills, her talents. She was worried about not living up to like the dancing expectations because they know she's a dancer, and she showed up and showed out. it was a great, great, great night for Lemon. And I just have to also reiterate something. You said JoJo Siwa stopped singing. I have been more offended by JoJo Siwa's dancing recently than her singing.
It's all
And I
terrible.
know
She
she's a
just needs to
dancer
stop whatever
too.
it is. Just stop all of it.
Well,
Just
I
cut
just
it off.
feel like it's so interesting because it's like it's a playback to Lemon because like Lemon's also a dancer, but you know what she didn't do? Make me hate her dancing. Like so I think it's an interesting like that you brought up JoJo Siwa and she did JoJo Siwa. I'm like, like good call not to do the JoJo Siwa because I think that that's a little I think that's like playing it safe for her too. Where this I think this is a huge risk. She goes for playing like a 50 something year old woman, which is the complete opposite of Lemon. Like Lemon describes herself as a rapstress. She's playing a character that I would see someone like I don't know, someone completely different. Like this is not a character she would normally ever play. Like someone playing this character generally goes to like one of the older queens who's had a lot of experience with people like this, and she doesn't seem to be the type that, you know, has a lot of experience knowing seasoned boiled. But it was sickening, loved it. And I just have to say her runway, can I talk about that?
Of course.
The way I gay gasped when she turned the corner, I was so shook because I was like, this is so fucking smart. This is intelligent drag. This makes sense. This category is Summer of 69, right? So, The Wizard of Oz, huge thing, especially for gay people, big deal with Judy Garland. For her to dress up as Judy Garland, Dorothy, from this in the like black and white version, which by the way, I had to do some digging because I was shook because I was like, wait a minute, Wizard of Oz is like from 1939. It's actually originally the story is from like the 1900s. That's not important right now. The important thing is that in 1967 there was a production, black and white production, put out in like the Soviet era or something like that, and like I said, it was gray, black and white kind of thing, which is why this is so interesting. And then she paired everything just being full on white, black, gray with that ruby slipper, right? Like immediately you see her and your eye notices that one like piece of color detail because she's so monochrome, and then you're like, like it really drew the emphasis to like what was this because you know that's the whole start of the film basically. She's like, oh my god, her shoes, I accidentally killed the girl, but like her sister or whatever Glinda comes down and is like, well, she don't need those shoes, girl, so here you go. Boop. And it's like that was the exact moment that I was like, oh, she's got this veil on, she's so beautiful, she's so timeless. Like this was a moment. And I was watching with a couple of my friends like I do every week, and I'm telling you, we all collectively gay gasped in the Discord together because we were all shook by this.
This was a moment. You're right. This could possibly be one of my favorite runways of the season. I don't know if it's going to be at the top, but this will be in the top five for sure. There's been a lot of good looks this season, but this one in particular, definitely, I agree. There's just so much meaning behind it. You could tell she really thought about this without, going too over the top with her references, and it's such a perfect look. I always love it when they do this, the monochromatic type look here, with the black and white, the detox, so popularized way back in the day here, but
Hmm.
this is just, oh my God, it just works so perfectly with the idea, and I love this tool that she has around the whole outfit that even just makes it look. Yeah, I think it's like a train, right, too, right? Like it looks so
Oh yeah,
good. It just emphasizes just like
and she could pull up the
it's so
veil
good.
and
It's so
hmm
versatile. There's so much she could do with this. It's just so good, so good. I saw her photo shoot too on Instagram. Oh my God. She came Lemon came to play this season. She literally is everything. And I'm just so proud of Lemon. I know she's proud of herself too. Like you can tell this bitch is proud of herself. She knows that she's back to her form. And I mean I don't think she was ever gone, but I could see how getting eliminated first in the season after what you went through would kind of do something to your psyche there. So for her to return back to Canada and get the love that she deserves, I'm so proud of Lemon. So happy for her. Um we go and get to our next queen, which is her Canadian sister, Miss Fiercalicious, and she had the third number of the night, which was Mothers of Snatch, where it was actually a pretty fun song where she basically relates the history of all the Snatch Game winners that we've had here. And then they decided to go international at one point and list all of them, and I thought that was just a lot of fun that you know that they included in this situation here. But I think where things kind of go weird here are the fact that Fierce decides to be Mother Teresa, which I think would have been a lot of fun if it wasn't a Rusical, because she had some really fun moments. Like her opening line was a lot of fun, where she says, "I'm also serving looks," and then ripped her headband off to have the bedazzled one. I thought that was a lot of fun. But I felt like Fierce kind of got swallowed up here. She has that same RBF that she always has. She doesn't really emote super well,
Mhm.
and it's just you know, I mean, I don't mind again that she did Mother Teresa, but it also felt like it felt so out of place. Felt very out of place, much like the baby being up there. Like it was just there was just something off about her where it just felt like she was also still maybe going like 60%. I don't know. It felt like Fierce maybe felt like this was her time. um, did you have any thoughts here on Miss Fierce's performance tonight?
So when it comes to impersonating a character, there are a few things you really have to take into consideration, and like, it's not like I'm a Snatch Game like specialist or anything. So like, I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm so much better, I can do this better. But like, when you have someone who like Miss Fierce Delicious, who has like that resting bitch face, or is not exactly known for her necessarily the strength in this category, picking a character that is somewhat similar to you is like a very big strength you can have because you're allowed to pick whoever you want, right? Like now imagine she had picked someone or had picked she could have actually just done Mother Teresa, but done like the real version of Mother Teresa. Because something that's really funny is like people don't always know that Mother Teresa was actually like really terrible of a person, even though she's portrayed as like this holy figure. She actually has this really dark history about her, and if you don't know, you should look it up. Mother Teresa is actually like really rotted and gutted, and it would have been so funny if she had played Mother Teresa as so rotted and gutted. Because the first thing was the serving the look thing. I was like, oh, what a cute like intro to it. Tell me why how funny it would have been if she had pulled out a cigarette and just acted like she was so annoyed the whole goddamn time. Like, there was a lot to work with here because this character is like such a renowned like figure in a lot of different cultures and stuff, and people look at her as like something so graceful. But like we've seen gay Jesus, we've seen like gay devil. Like you can do these things and make them funny and be irreverent. Like that's kind of what drag is about. Like you're allowed to do those things, especially. And I just think it would have been so funny if she just made her character like completely terrible, like smoking the whole time, drinking a bunch, cursing. Like it would have been a great time, and she could have really relied on her strengths. Now, another issue with this is she has a really great song, and here's why I'm confused by why she chose this part. It's very wordy. I don't think she's the strongest lip syncer, but I'm not saying she's bad, and I'm totally fine with a girl taking a challenge. It is Madonna. Everyone in their mother knows that Michelle is a Madonna stickler. If you're gonna do the Madonna song, you better be 100% ready. You have to hit every single thing right. Or you at least have to be skinny and have a girl flip you over so you can win the Rusical instead of someone else.
Ooh.
But, oh, sorry. But I'm just
You're
saying
about to trigger
that
Jan again.
I'm not triggering Jan. I'm calling it out what it was. I'm letting the girls know. Keep it 100. Keep yourself educated. Like, Miss Fierce Delicious here. She wasn't really able to get down the choreography. She's not really known for that. If I had heard this track, I'd been like, that dancing is not for your girl. Like, not at all.
Yeah,
And
I'm a
the
little
thing
surprised she
is,
didn't go for the last performance where she didn't have to move very much.
well, right, either the ballad. See, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, the other four are known for being dancers. Like, you would have thought Fierce would have fought Cheryl for it, but she had no issue with it. So I was really confused. Um, I think that was like just a mental misstep on her part, but I also think that shows some of the lack of experience here. You know, all the other girls have been here at least 3 times now. I mean, if you really count Cheryl and Lemon as 3 times, I guess. I don't really know
Well,
how
I'm
to
pretty sure
feel
their
about
bank
that.
budgets probably felt the UK versus the world one runway. So yeah, we'll say 3 times.
Sure. But I mean, Miss Fiercalicious has an unfortunately like very flat performance. She has probably the worst dance like performance of the night in terms of choreo. And then I would honestly say she has like probably the second or is like the second worst performance of the Snatch game, or maybe the middle slot, but clearly she's nowhere near the top. So like overall I was kind of like, okay, womp womp womp. So unfortunately, like Miss Fiercalicious doesn't do really well in the challenge at all. But where she does excel for the most part is the runway.
When
She
does she
comes
not excel on
down.
the runway though? She's been so good this season. Flawless.
I wouldn't say flawless.
Almost
Again, they're
flawless.
like, yeah. I mean, I don't want to have that whole debate about who should have won the ball kind of moment, but
We're going back.
um,
Should have won the ball.
oh lordy Jesus. But you know, here we go. She comes up with this great idea. Here it is, the space race. This is a huge moment in the 60s, and actually 69, the summer of, is when the US like first sent up people and got them to actually walk on the moon. So like great category, great choice for summer of 69, right? She takes off this like hot pink helmet that like at first I wasn't 100% sure what it was because I thought it was a scuba diver like old school helmet, and then I realized, oh no, it's an astronaut helmet, right? Like my dumb ass was just over here like, what kind of helmet is that? And I had to think about it for a second. um because obviously with the rest of the attire you see that like, oh, it's definitely astronaut. But
Surprised you didn't get
she
that from the
takes
start.
well, girl, I have this fascination with like the scuba outfit kind of thing. I think it's just like a Scooby Doo thing because like I watch a lot of Scooby Doo and there was like this one episode with like this the like scuba like monster villain. So I don't know. But whenever I see this huge thing, that's what my first thought is. But I got it real quick. Like before she took off the helmet, I was like, "Oh my god!" And then she started taking it off, and I was like, "Okay, astronaut, right?" She has this third eye on there. The prosthetic looks good. She has this really kooky, like light pink and black spiral hair. It looks very cute. It's very demure. She's very cutesy. She's very mindful. Like, she's giving us everything we want in this moment. She has these poofed up sleeves. She's giving us that 60s fashion, but kind of make it look like astronaut a bit. I like the shoes. I like the details. It's a very simple look, but again, like Alexis, it's very clean. If it wasn't for the helmet, I would be a little bit missing on something just because it was so simple, but it was well done. I liked it a lot. It was so good. It was such a moment. Love the gloves and the like. I believe she has like less fingers than normal to like signify she's an alien still. Um, the contacts all black and the black lipstick. It was very, very well done, detailed for the most part. And I loved it. I think we should all thank her for another great runway moment. But this is where she excelled this week, and one of the only places she did. But can't say enough good things about it.
I really like this look. It came out and it was just, oh my god, that helmet, it just looks so cool. I think you're right. There's something slightly off about just how she designed the whole astronaut outfit, because it is a little plain, a little bit, and to some degree, but I also think it's also probably going for a little bit more of a mod style. I want to feel like it's definitely probably maybe like 60s alien, whatnot, to fit the category still. So, I'm not mad at any part of this look here. I thought it's very clean, it's very polished, the details all look good. And you're right, I really love the hair and just the detailing of the prosthetic of and the makeup as well too. Kirsten is always going to look great on the runway, so I don't think we're ever going to have to worry about that there. So, Unfortunate that the Snatch game wasn't a little stronger, but I think we kind of all, I hate to say it, kind of expected this result here. But you know, let's go into our next queen here, and Miss Kennedy Davenport with the flop tango, and she decided to go with Tabitha Brown as her character, because that worked so well for Olivia Lux in season 13, and I think we could officially say now, please, anybody out there that is deciding to be Tabitha Brown for your Snatch game, don't do it. It's not a great character. It's far too slow for the Snatch game. I think just the way that the cadence, the way that you get to the jokes around it. She's just not a funny personality. Stop with Tabitha Brown here. But where she did do really well here, despite not being a choreographed dancer, was the actual solo performance here. I thought she killed it. Um, it was kind of reminiscent of her All Stars 3 talent performance where she flipped onto the box. But instead she flipped onto the Snatch game table, so I thought that was still pretty iconic that she brought this back there. But overall, her Snatch game, ooh, that brought her performance down so much here. Um, do you have any thoughts here on Miss Kennedy's flop tango? Because she was really flop tangoing here.
So, what an interesting moment for her to have the flop tango because she did such a great job dancing. I was so entertained. She did so great on the choreo, but it's like she didn't learn the words. And this isn't the first time we've seen her in a Rusical challenge, forget the words or not know it. If you all remember back to the infamous episode 2 of All Stars 3, where some people are actually gagged by the decision to send home Thorgy Thor over Kennedy because Kennedy did so much worse in the Rusical. So it's kind of a repeat of Kennedy, unfortunately. In a moment, it's like, yikes, because like this is something that I definitely know she probably wanted to have a better moment of, like kind of a redo, if you will, of that scenario. And later you see in the Untucked, she's extremely emotional about it, and I think maybe that partially played it, even though she hadn't necessarily talked about that specifically. But her Tabitha Brown made me not only consider that Tabitha was a terrible character, because I was like, I think anyone can be a good character, quote unquote, kind of thing, right? Like, but oh God, there it's just been really hard, and I think you just have to be a lot more witty about it, and it just wasn't really giving anything. None of the jokes landed. It really wasn't funny. Every time they always try to make her like a non-vegan somehow, and it just doesn't seem to really hit off that well. I'm sure there might be a way to do it, but I think that with a character like this, you kind of have to be really funny and really like witty. And the thing with Kennedy is she is really funny and really witty, but I don't think she knew enough about Tabitha, and I just don't think she was as prepared for it, right? So unfortunately, it kind of missed the mark there for me. Um, well, actually, not just for me, for everyone. Let's be real, for everyone, for
Definitely.
everyone, everyone. Um, but that being said, she does have a pretty good look on the runway, I will say. Uh, I really like her hair specifically. I remember talking to people like this was a very, very good hairstyle. I love the puff. I love the shape specifically about this. I love the patterns in the. I don't know if you'd call this an ascot per se. I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to be calling around the neck thing. I'm not like the
Was it
biggest
a
fashion person
scarf?
ever.
Looks like a scarf,
What
right? Was it
is
this?
is
Was
it?
it
Is
just
it
a
just a
scarf?
scarf?
I thought
Okay,
it was just a scarf. But maybe that would.
okay.
I don't know. I
I
haven't been here.
enjoyed it for the most part. I will say when they zoomed in, I was like, okay, so the makeup is a little rough, but like, I'm not a makeup artist either, so like, let me hold my tongue on that because she also does like older style generation of makeup, I will say, and it's not like everyone has great, amazing makeup on this runway either. But overall, I like the look. I like the cuffs. I like the fitted shoulder chest area to the immediate the immediate like draped dress kind of look. It's very reminiscent. We know what it is. Love the. I assume this is like a because it's the same pink as the legs. It's maybe a bodysuit with gloves, or maybe it's just gloves that match the like leggings. I'm not 100% certain. And then the pink shoes. I don't mind them. Not my favorite. Um, overall, wasn't like my favorite look of the week or anything, but it's honestly because we have so many good looks of this week. But there's not like a terrible look this week, right? There's nothing that's like making me like, okay, this is on the worst list of the worst goddamn looks of the season kind of thing. Like I'm not feeling that way about anyone. Overall, good look, but not nowhere near strong enough to make up for her lack of knowing the words and her bad Snatch Game performance.
Agree. I really like the look here for Kennedy. I feel like it's one of her stronger ones that she's had. I love the color combination that she has going on with the yellows and the pinks that she has. I love the cuffs on it, how the solid, and then she has the same patterning as the scarf. We'll call it the scarf. On her shoulders. I thought that was really a smart decision in the design. I feel like maybe she could have done something a little bit more with the leggings or something. Maybe have the same design maybe in the leggings to some degree because I feel like at least to match how it is in the top, but it's a slight, um, only design thing for me specifically. But otherwise, I really like what she has going on here, and you're right, I love Puffwig. It's so good. But overall, compared to everybody else, and because there are so few people, she is kind of probably on the lower end here. But again, you're right. None of these looks are gonna ever end up on like a top 10 worst list whatsoever. Um, I don't even know if there is enough looks to make a top 10 worst list here, because I don't think there's 10 looks this season that I can really think of off the top of my head that are just horrible. Actually, just kidding. I can probably think of 10. And they're all eliminated already. Anyway, yeah. Otherwise, yeah, I definitely felt for Kennedy in Untucked here. Because this was really the first time she's really kind of fallen really hard. So, eh, rough night for Kennedy. Definitely rough night. But we could go and get into the person that probably caused that rough night for her for stealing the ballot from her. And it's Cheryl doing her Requiem for a Bottom performance as Queen Victoria. And I think she rose to the occasion here. I think she did really well. She had some really good Snatch Game jokes. She also seemed very into the performance. Like it didn't feel like she broke character at all the whole entire time. She was. I felt like Cheryl really wanted to win it. I think though maybe I don't know if the strategy of picking the ballad was the best choice though, because I just feel like the other performances you had so much more that you could have stood out with. And I don't know if the ballad with the lack of dancing necessarily played to Cheryl's strengths 100%. It was still very good. But like I said, I think fact that Lemon was able to kind of just go all out and be crazy and whatnot, I think really kind of set apart the two and why I think Lemon probably got the win over Cheryl. But again, strong night for Cheryl. She's proven that she's really good at getting high placements. But still, yet to, I think, really come through in 3 seasons to really secure that win, which has got to be kind of a little rough to her psyche overall. But I mean, you can't be upset getting to a finale, 2 finales now without winning a challenge. Like that's still pretty damn good. So, do you have any thoughts here on Miss Cheryl's performance tonight?
Yes, I kind of disagree with you. I think the ballad was a huge moment at the end, and I kind of loved her performance, and I thought it was great, and it played to her strength of not having the best, like, she was like, oh, I don't think I can, like, stand out, like, extremely well in the dancing. So I thought the ballad was a great choice. I do think her queen choice was good. It just, some of the issue, she is another one where her character, because of how the Rusical worked, first of all, it's not a made up character, obviously, but it's someone that we don't all have like the greatest references of, I will say, in like nowadays, where we kind of don't all get it, and that's because like I come from like an Americanized lens, right? Like, people from Canada will have their Canada lens too. Like, we don't also have all of like the British like full on things that we get, which is kind of one of those issues when you come like you have some of those like cultural differences or cultural like things. Like, I don't know about everyone else, but growing up, like we didn't learn a lot about the different monarchs in the UK. Like we learned a few of them, but briefly, not like a huge thing. And so she did a great job of the characterization. She had funny answers, but it wasn't as strong as Lemon's. I think that was like the real big like, oh no. And then the biggest issue actually is her runway. Unfortunately, her runways have been kind of mediocre this season, even though she said she's claimed to like get rid of the mediocre. I can tell you that that's not fully true yet on the runway. But what I will say is that this isn't a terrible look. This is just coming in fifth after everyone else's look. This is very underwhelming. Like, I was not whelmed, kind of thing. The hair, love the hair. Beautiful. This color is so good for her. Her makeup looks great. The earrings, great. The whole head up, amazing. The arms down, amazing. The style of the dress, pretty good. The purse, great. I loved her like glove sleeves with the little daisies on matching the rest of the outfit. I love that she did the little like white pump and the white bag, and she looks very of the 60s. I see it 100%. It's just when you're on the drag race runway, like, this dress is not enough. We've talked about details, and if we compare this to, let's say, I don't know, just like Alexis's dress, for example, Alexis's dress is somewhat similar, but it has a collar. This one is sleeveless, right? And that's fine. Let's take off the sleeves, but let's keep the collar. We could have done that to give more, but since she went collar, or since she went sleeveless, sorry, um, this whole like mini daisy thing going on, it wasn't very even, and then the daisies are placed in such a boring fashion on the dress, and the material of the dress looks very wrinkly. The dress is kind of a letdown. She doesn't look bad. She just looks very like mid-safe. Like, yes, this is what the standard kind of was. Like, this was the bare minimum you could do. There are some nice details, like I mentioned, with the sleeves, gloves, and the very cleanliness of just her looking very much like a 1960s woman. But unfortunately, this just doesn't meet the bar, and it's very boring. It's very meh, uh, just so mediocre. And I think this is what really killed Cheryl's chances of getting that top spot. Now, I think clearly her presentation in the Rusical was very strong. Her snatch game was very strong. And kind of one of the reasons I loved this combination challenge, because I thought it was so good. But it just wasn't enough to like snatch the victory, unfortunately. So she will be going without a win this season again.
Yeah, look was a little pedestrian. It kind of gave me natural woman in the 60s versus like drag queen from the 60s. So, yeah, underwhelmed, I think, is definitely the word we could use for Cheryl's runway this season. It's not a bad look. It would be, I think it's, you're right, safe, but there's no creativity, imagination, outside the box thinking here. And I think that's where a lot of Cheryl's runways, I think, have maybe missed the mark here, is that they meet the brief, but I feel like she never puts in she's a kid that never did extra credit growing up. You could tell. She put in the bare minimum, she got her C, and then she moved forward. Like, it's just she doesn't there's an above and beyondness that it feels like some people are ready to go to, and Cheryl is just never there to do that. And it's sad, but I'm like I get it. I get it. It's just her fashion, and that's why, unfortunately, she doesn't get the win here. The win does go to Lemon. And as we get back in Untucked, and again, as we've already discussed here, Kennedy has her moment where she breaks down. And Fierce, I think, feels like she has the best critiques out of the bottom three, that her Canadian sister should save her. But Alexis also feels like track record should be brought to account here. So there's a lot of different situations everybody has going on here. I think Cheryl is also prompting Lemon to think a little strategically about the decision as well here too. Because again, this is the last time the Golden Beaver will be used, and whoever she saves will get the direct pass to the final with Lemon and Cheryl at this point. So for me, just kind of based off of how Lemon was saying that she was going to play the game here, it seemed like she was likely probably going to save the person who had the best chances of doing well here in the finale, or probably the most worthy person in the end. But from your perspective, do you feel like she was going to take the high road, or did you think she was going to possibly make a strategic move here?
I felt like she was always going to take the high road, unfortunately. But that being said, I'm not sure if she picked the high road. And I know that sounds crazy because she did save someone who had two wins, but when you really look at it, and I'm just being completely like logical and like take out any bias, right? Let's look at the scoreboard for a second, right? We have Alexis, this is her third time in the bottom. She has one win. This is Kennedy's second time in the bottom. She has two wins. This is Fiercalicious's what, second time in the bottom?
Third, I want to say.
Third? Okay, she has zero wins. But when I really dig deeper into this, I look at a couple things that I think are important to note. I don't think Alexis deserved her bottom placement in the first episode. Even though she got the beaver twice so far and hasn't had to lip sync, I don't think she deserved to be in the bottom. I think that if anything, I would have, again, I've said this before, I would have given Fiercalicious that bottom placement in the first episode, which would have brought Fiercalicious to a third time in the bottom. So that gets rid of one of Alexis's. Alexis also was in the bottom during the roast, and I kind of don't believe she deserved to be in the bottom during the roast. I just think that was one of those scenarios where the way they judged it, she just had to be in the bottom. And I don't think there was a justification for like putting her in the bottom other than the actual, you know, basis of the challenge and how they told them they were going to vote off of it. So to me, I'm feeling very much like Detox saving Roxy, being like, I don't think she deserved to be in the bottom when she was put in the bottom. And like, I think that there's clearly a case for this here. When I look at Kennedy, though, I say, okay, Alexis has gotten the beaver twice, Kennedy's gotten the beaver once. Kennedy, by far, no matter what anyone says, was clearly in the bottom of the ball. Was like bottom one or bottom two. Guaranteed, no matter what. There's no way to get around the fact that she was clearly the worst in the ball, if not Tainomi, right? Like she was either bottom one or bottom two. She got saved though because of her track record. So if we save her again, where she's clearly the worst of the night, kind of in terms of not knowing her lyrics, getting probably the worst critiques from the judges overall, and her snatch game being a complete flop. It feels kind of like, okay, so someone who's done extremely well or extremely bad the whole competition, it's like she keeps going from good to bad to good to bad, and it's kind of like the lack of consistency is hard, especially with only 5 episodes and two large bottom placements, not even like bad, like good bottom placements, I guess, if you want to think of it like that. And then Fierce has consistently not been doing well, so I just don't. She had one high placement, and in my mind, she should have had more bottom placements than she has. So I couldn't have saved Fierce no matter what I wanted to do, even though she's my Canada sister. If I'm Lemon, I was like, girl, that doesn't feel fair. So the fair thing seems like Kennedy, but to me, the fair thing seemed like Alexis. Now, luckily, I don't think it really mattered because I think we were going to get an outcome where Fierce was being sent home either way because Fierce's lip sync skills are not really as strong as either Kennedy or Alexis. And so when Lemon makes this decision, I understand it fully. It probably looks like on paper this is the best decision because you just look at it as like bottom placement, instead of like analyzing further. Now, one thing I do want to note about this, though, is you mentioned Cheryl being like, play strategic. And I thought that was kind of funny because I believe early in the episode, Kennedy had said that thing about Cheryl when they were sitting around the table about how she might not be making it to the. Was it her who said the not making it to the end because she wanted it versus Canada versus the US or something like that?
I think that was Alexis.
Oh, was that Alexis? Okay. So, like, even if you did it strategically, putting those two against each other was the strategic decision, right? So she wanted to knock out one of these two girls. And I was like, is that because, like, one of them shaded her? I don't know. But it was funny. I don't know if she made the right choice, but the outcome still is the same. Fiercalicious going home into the lip sync, right?
I don't know. I feel like on paper she made the right decision, and in a lot of ways too. I think she actually neutered a lot of Kennedy's power, and by saving her again, because now you have the only person now with two wins, or the only other person with two wins saving the other person with two wins, and the other person that just saved them has no bottom placement. So
Hmm.
I feel like Lemon actually probably made the smartest move in this situation because it really, again, it has a power now over Kennedy. She has to always have the fact that she saved Kennedy over her head here. So, yeah, you're right. Going into the lip sync here, I think it was pretty clear that Fierce was going to lose, especially because we had a ballad from Alessia Cara's, which was "How Far I'll Go." I don't think I've heard the song before. I'll be honest, I'm not
It's
a
from
huge.
Moana.
Oh, okay, well that explains that.
I never watched Moana myself, but
Same.
I've only heard amazing things from it. This song is like a really big. I know the people I was watching with, they were very upset. They were like, "I can't believe we're not just gonna do like the normal version and not the cover." And they were like, "Alessia Cara has so many better like version or like better songs." And I was like, "That's fair." But like, you know how Disney is about like rights and stuff, so maybe it had something to do with that. I'm not fully sure because I do remember when we did the Frozen lip sync in season 12, it was from the musical and not from the actual like Disney movie, I believe. So,
Who knows, honestly. I mean, like I said, I've never heard the song before today. It was a nice song. Good song. Alessia Cara is very talented. I don't know if I necessarily really liked it for a lip sync song, but it was fine. I think Alexis just her she'll probably be able to do well in any sort of lip sync song for the most part. She's one of those artists that she'll always be able to kind of find a way to match her style to the song here. And again, it was a ballad. There was no way Fierce was going to be able to stand a chance to this song. So yeah, uh, Alexis clearly does this to make her money, as she said, episode one. She had a great lip sync and earned her way into the final four, while Miss Fourthalicious becomes Miss Fifthalicious. Fortunately, sabotage is real. Sent her home right before the finale. She will not be making another finale, at least this season. And I gotta say, despite her track record, I'm a little bummed to see Fierce be eliminated here. Just because, again, I think she had some of the best fashion of the season. Not to mention, she brought the drama. There's, not, I mean, only so much drama we're gonna get in the finale episode anyway. So this feels probably like her time. Uh, it just doesn't probably seem right for her to get a spot over the top four, maybe over any of the other girls, other than maybe Cheryl. But Cheryl's had so many strong performances that were just narrowly edged out of a win. So I can't, I think, in good faith, really say that this isn't justified to some degree. Um, do you have any final thoughts on Miss Fiercelicious's time here at Canada versus the World 2?
you know, unfortunately, she may have had one of the best runway packages, but runways don't really win you the season in the at least the Canadian version or the American version of Drag Race. I know
I
that
was gonna
that's
say All
some.
Stars 9. Oop.
Oh, well, definitely not All Stars 9. Definitely not All Stars 9. And please don't get me started on that because I had to talk some shit today about that again, too.
No, we're letting
Um,
it go.
un-
We're letting it go. We're letting it go. We did
unlike
our video. We're letting it
today,
go.
right? Unlike today, well, not sorry, not today. Unlike this season, I don't think there's that much rigging that people are gonna like really talk about. I don't really think you can justifiably say that there's been a lot of rigging going on here. I think most of the placements have been 1000% accurate. There may be like one or two here that you can like switch up. Like I know some people are sad about Cheryl not having a win. I could have seen her get the win during the mole challenge really easily. I could have seen, I people are still mad about Fiercalicious not winning the ball. People are mad about Lemon being in the high spot as opposed to being in the safe spot as Eureka. But does any of that really change anything? No, none of that changes anything so far that's happened in this trajectory. Like we, I still think at this point, even if Fierce had a win, she still ends up in the bottom two. She still ends up going home. So Fierce has had a decent run in the season. She just unfortunately wasn't able to keep up with some of, I guess, the legends. And surprisingly enough, the four people at the end we're going to see have all been on the show 3 or 4 times now. Is that is there something to say about maybe experience has something to do with Drag Race? Possibly.
I think you're definitely right. I think, I mean, obviously, the more times you do it, the better you're going to be at it, especially when every single time you've done it, you've basically got to the end, other than, I mean, Lemon and Cheryl. But here's
Right.
where we stand, y'all, with our final four. Officially, our hometown queen, our sole standing Canadian left, Lemon, looks to have the best chances at snatching this crown with 2 wins and no bottom placements. But Kennedy's 2 wins and 2 bottoms still could put her in contention for the win. Alexis has 1 win and 3 bottoms. She's a little more iffy with a lip sync for the crown in place here, but it's possible she could still sneak her way in for a win as well. But it's just, again, very hard to envision a world here where Cheryl's multiple high placements, yet no wins, will secure her the ultimate win over her competitors. So I sort of expect in our finale lip sync battle for the crown here that at some point Cheryl will likely be eliminated along with either Alexis or Kennedy, leaving us with an attempt from the other one to defend the crown, probably facing off against Lemon for the win here. And at this point, for me, I don't think there's any question who deserves the win from my perspective. I've been Team Lemon since the moment the cast was announced. Her performance this season has done nothing but strengthen my opinion in that, and I feel without a doubt she's by far one of the best brides queens that we have from Canada's Drag Race. But not only that, but the entire franchise as well. So I feel like a crowning for her would really cement her legacy as a star, and she's just would have such a bright future ahead of her. So personally, for me, Lemon is my winner pick of the season here. Jack, do you have any final thoughts as we get into next week's season finale and reunion? And who are you officially rooting for to snatch this crown?
Justice for Hannah. No, no. Sorry, it was too tempting to pass up. I'm Team Lemon still. I'm 100% Team Lemon. I started Team Lemon. I grew to like Alexis more. I grew to like Kennedy more. I grew to really rooting for Cheryl, even though I kind of was. But I wouldn't be mad at a good lip sync finale where maybe the lip syncs actually matter, since we've had a few of those this year that haven't mattered clearly, especially for the finale choices. I'm looking at UK versus the World 2 and All Stars 9,
Justice for Marina
you
Summers.
know, Justice for Roxy Andrews. So I just think that when you really look at everything going on, the one thing that makes me a little less nervous is Brooklyn doing the crowning. I know that RuPaul still has her hand in the candy jar, but I don't think she has as much influence as she did on the other seasons. So I am really hoping and praying that we go based off of the lip syncs. And if we're not going to go solely off lip syncs, we can at least go off of like lip syncs plus actual track record and performance in the season. So Team Woman, but you know, I won't be mad if someone else actually out lip syncs and deserves the crown. I think we have four really good contenders here. I think it's very likely, though, as it is a Canada season, we will get a Canada queen. And I do think Lemon has deserved this. Like, she once popularly said, let Priyanka own 2020. I think 2024 is Lemon's year. She was unjustifiably like kicked off of UK versus the world by a bitter Betty who got her just desserts. So I think that, this is Lemon's time to really show up and show out.
I'm all here for Lemon here, and I hopefully this is her time to get the crown. And as always, y'all, I cannot wait to see how this turns out, and we won't have very much long to wait because it'll be ending literally next week. And hopefully all of y'all out there can't wait either, especially if you made it this far into the podcast. And thank you so much for listening. And please, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe because it lets us know you're enjoying the content. Be sure to catch all of our continuing coverage on the finale of Canada versus the World 2, as well as Big Brother 26 and Global All Stars, which started this weekend. We have a very long podcast coming up for that. Trust me, we have two parts to get into. So excited for Global All Stars, by the way. But I can't believe we're already in August. This year is just going by too fast. But until next time, y'all. Till next week, until our season finale. And on behalf of my co-caster Jack, this is Renegade signing out. Remember, keep spilling that tea, y'all. Bye.
Bye.